The massive view screen of Trade Station Omega-7 showed stars scattered like diamond dust against the black void of space. Commander Zaxthul stood before it, his forearms crossed behind his back. His purple scales gleamed under the station's artificial lights. At 3 meters tall, he towered over most other species in the galaxy. "The humans have arrived," his aide whispered, antenna twitching nervously. Zaxthul made a sound that passed for laughter among his kind. "Good. Let them come and hear what the Corvani hegemony has decided about their little mining colonies." The conference room doors slid open with a soft hiss. Captain Sarah Chen entered first, followed by 2 other humans. Zaxthul had studied their files. Humans were still new to space, having achieved faster-than-light travel only 200 years ago. They were soft, with no natural armor, no claws, no obvious weapons built into their bodies. They needed special suits just to survive in most environments. Sarah Chen stood barely 2 meters tall. Her black hair was tied back in a simple style. Her dark eyes met his without flinching, which he found amusing. Such a small, fragile creature trying to appear brave. Ambassador Kelmore of the Altarian Council floated between them, his translucent body shifting colors. As the neutral mediator, he had called this meeting to prevent conflict. The Altarians were an ancient race respected by all for their wisdom and fairness. "Welcome, all parties," Kelmore's voice resonated like wind chimes. "We gather today to discuss the disputed territories in the Kepler sector." Zaxthul wasted no time. "There is nothing to discuss. The Corvani hegemony claims those systems. The humans will evacuate their illegal mining colonies within 1 solar rotation." Sarah Chen's expression didn't change. She pulled up a holographic display from her wrist device. "Commander, these colonies were established on uninhabited worlds. According to Galactic Council Law 779, any species may claim uninhabited systems if they establish permanent settlements. We have 3,000 colonists across 6 worlds in the Kepler sector. Laws made before the Corvani joined the Council." Zaxthul dismissed with a wave of his upper right arm. "We do not recognize them." "That's not how laws work," Sarah said calmly. "Your recognition doesn't change their validity." Zaxthul stepped forward, using his full height to loom over the human woman. Most species would step back. Sarah Chen didn't move. "You have 17 star systems," she continued. "We're asking for 6 worlds you've never even visited. Worlds that were empty until we arrived. This doesn't need to become a conflict. The Corvani hegemony does not negotiate with newcomers." Zaxthul growled. "You humans have been in space for a heartbeat. We have conquered civilizations that were traveling the stars before your species learned to use fire." "Actually, we learned to use fire about 400,000 years ago," Sarah said. "But I understand your point." Ambassador Kelmore floated closer to Zaxthul, his body shifting to private communication frequencies that only the commander could hear. "I must warn you, Commander. Do not underestimate the humans." Zaxthul turned one eye toward the Altarian while keeping 3 on the humans. "Why? What could these soft creatures possibly do against the might of the Corvani fleet?" "They are unusual," Kelmore continued privately. "In their brief time among the stars, they have never lost a defensive war. Not once. They've been lucky." Zaxthul responded on the same frequency. "It's not luck," Kelmore insisted. "We've studied their history. On their homeworld, they were not the strongest predator, not the fastest. They had no natural weapons. Yet they dominated their planet through something else. They're persistence hunters, Commander. Their ancestors would chase prey for days, never stopping, never resting until the animal collapsed from exhaustion." Zaxthul laughed openly this time. "And you think this matters in space combat?" "They apply the same principle to everything," Kelmore warned. "When the Zatari Confederation raided their first colony, the humans hunted them for 3 years. They didn't stop until every single raider was captured or dead. When the Mokari tried to enslave a human research station, the humans reverse-engineered Mokari technology, improved it, and used it to free every slave in Mokari space. They don't just win wars, Commander. They make examples. Propaganda and exaggeration," Zaxthul said. Sarah Chen cleared her throat. "Are you gentlemen finished with your private conversation? It's considered rude in human culture to whisper in front of others." The fact that she knew they were communicating privately made Kelmore's colors shift to an alarmed yellow. Zaxthul ignored the warning sign. 1 solar rotation, Zaxthul announced. "Remove your colonies or we will remove them for you." Sarah Chen touched her earpiece and spoke softly. I need to consult with Earth Command. She listened for a moment, then looked back at Zaxthul. Our answer is no. Those colonies stay. Then you've chosen war, Zaxthul said with satisfaction. The Corvani loved war. It was their art, their passion, their purpose. We've chosen to defend what's ours, Sarah corrected. There's a difference. Commander, I'm authorized by Earth Command to tell you this once. Reconsider. Please walk away from this. Find other worlds. The galaxy is vast and we don't need to be enemies. Begging already? Zaxthul sneered. Warning, Sarah said. Her voice carried something that made even Zaxthul pause for a moment. You're making a mistake. Once you cross this line with humanity, there's no going back. We don't forget. We don't forgive unprovoked attacks. And we don't stop until the threat is ended. Is that a threat, little human? It's a promise, Sarah said. And a final opportunity. Stand down your fleet. Let's find a peaceful solution. Zaxthul turned to leave, his heavy footsteps echoing through the conference room. You have one rotation to evacuate. After that, any human blood spilled is on your hands. As the Corvani delegation left, Ambassador Kelmore floated to Sarah Chen. His colors were swirling in patterns of deep concern. Captain, I tried to warn him, the Altarian said. He wouldn't listen. Sarah nodded slowly. They never do. Not until it's too late. She turned to her aide. Send message to all colonies in the Kepler sector. Code Black contingency is now active. Tell the colonists to evacuate to the bunkers and contact Fleet Command. Tell them the Corvani have chosen war. Should we begin evacuation? Her aide asked. No, we're not leaving. But we need the civilians protected for what's coming. Sarah looked at the star map showing the 6 small mining colonies, dots of blue in the vast darkness. How many ships does the Corvani fleet have in this sector? 40 heavy cruisers, 100 support vessels, her aide reported. And we have 3 patrol ships and the mining defense platforms. Ambassador Kelmore's colors shifted to confused purple. You cannot hope to defend against such odds. Sarah smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. We're not planning to defend, Ambassador. We're planning to teach a lesson. The Corvani want to learn about humanity through war? They're about to get an education they'll never forget. 20 hours later, the Corvani fleet dropped out of hyperspace above the first human mining colony. 40 massive warships bristling with weapons faced a single human patrol vessel and a handful of mining platforms. Commander Zaxthul opened a communication channel. Surrender now and you may leave with your lives. Captain Chen appeared on his screen. She was still on the trade station, but her image was being relayed through the patrol ship. Commander Zaxthul, this is your last warning. Turn your fleet around. Leave human space. You won't get another chance. Empty words from a species about to learn what real power looks like, Zaxthul replied. Very well, Sarah said quietly. You were cautioned. Remember that. When your empire asks how this started, remember that you were warned. Remember that we asked for peace. Remember that you chose this. The transmission ended. Zaxthul gave the order to attack. Plasma cannons opened fire, tearing through the patrol ship in seconds. The mining platforms exploded one by one. In less than 10 minutes, the colony's defenses were destroyed. Ground troops landed and rounded up the human colonists, taking 200 prisoners. The same scene repeated at all 6 colonies over the next day. The human defenses crumbled instantly. Not a single Corvani ship was damaged. It was the easiest victory in hegemony history. Pathetic, Zaxthul said to his officers. The humans are even weaker than we thought. Alert the Hegemony Council that the Kepler sector is ours. But in the wreckage of each destroyed patrol ship, hidden among the debris, tiny devices no bigger than dust particles powered on. They attached themselves to Corvani hulls invisible to scanners. They began transmitting everything: positions, shield frequencies, engine signatures, communication codes. In the depths of human space, far from any trade route, hundreds of ships that didn't appear on any official registry began to move. They had been waiting for years, hoping this day would never come. Now that it had, humanity's true military doctrine activated. The Corvani had won the first battle. They had no idea the real war hadn't started yet. 3 weeks had passed since the Corvani victory in the Kepler sector. Commander Zaxthul stood in his command center aboard the flagship Unconquered Claw, reading reports with satisfaction. The human response had been exactly what he expected from a weak young species. They're running away, his tactical officer reported, mandibles clicking with amusement. The humans are pulling back from all border territories. Their fleet is retreating to their core systems. Zaxthul examined the holographic display showing human fleet movements. Sure enough, every human vessel within 500 light-years of Corvani space was withdrawing. Mining ships abandoned their claims. Trade vessels changed course. Military patrols simply vanished from their usual routes. Cowards, Zaxthul muttered. Send word to the Hegemony Council. Tell them the humans have accepted defeat, without even attempting to fight back. We should press forward and take more of their territories while they're scared. His second-in-command, Sub-Commander Thekval, shifted uneasily. Commander, doesn't this seem too easy? The Altarian warned us. The Altarian was trying to protect his human friends, Zaxthul interrupted. Clearly, their reputation was built on lies and lucky encounters with even weaker species. But within days, small things began to go wrong. It started with supply ship Eternal Prosperity. The vessel was carrying food and ammunition from the Hegemony core worlds to the new colonies in the Kepler sector. It entered hyperspace on schedule. It never arrived. Probably a navigation error, the logistics officer assured everyone. Hyperspace can be tricky near nebulas. Then the second supply ship vanished, then the third. Check the hyperspace routes, Zaxthul ordered. There might be some kind of anomaly. The scouts found nothing. The routes were clear. The ships had simply disappeared somewhere between departure and arrival. No debris, no distress signals, no explanation. Meanwhile, in the conquered human colonies, the mining equipment left behind began producing strange results. The automated drones that extracted rare minerals from deep underground continued working, but the materials they brought up were subtly wrong. The molecular structure was corrupted in ways that made them useless for manufacturing. Sabotage? Thekval suggested. Impossible, the chief engineer insisted. We've examined every line of code. The drones are working perfectly. It's as if the mineral deposits themselves have changed. The communication problem started next. Messages between Corvani ships would arrive corrupted. A status report would transform into gibberish halfway through transmission. Orders from command would be received with critical words missing or changed. At first, it happened once or twice a day. Within a week, nearly a quarter of all communications were affected. It's just interference, the communications officer said. But his scales had turned pale with worry. Maybe solar flares or something. Zaxthul stood at his command station watching his empire's perfect victory slowly develop cracks. Where are the humans? Have our scouts found their fleet? No, Commander. They seem to have pulled back beyond our sensor range. Then who is doing this? Zaxthul roared, his fist slamming onto the console. No one had an answer. On the mining colony designated K3, Sergeant Vaxel of the Corvani Occupation Force walked his usual patrol route. The human colonists they guarded were quiet, obedient. They worked in the mines without complaint, ate their rations, and returned to their barracks. Too quiet, Vaxel thought. He noticed one of the humans, an older male with gray hair, watching him. The human was always watching. But whenever Vaxel looked directly at him, the man would be working or eating or sleeping. Never obviously staring, but Vaxel could feel those eyes. You? Vaxel pointed at the old human with his plasma rifle. Come here. The human approached slowly, hands visible and empty. Yes, sir? Why do you watch me? The old man's expression didn't change. I'm not watching you, sir. I'm just working. I can feel your eyes, human. What are you planning? Nothing, sir. We're miners. We mine. Vaxel leaned close, his four eyes focusing on the humans too. If you're planning something, it won't work. We have 100 soldiers here. You have nothing. The old man nodded. You're right, sir. We have nothing. But as he turned to walk away, Vaxel could have sworn he saw the man smile. That night, Vaxel couldn't sleep. Every sound made him reach for his weapon. The human barracks were quiet, but it was the wrong kind of quiet. Like the silence before a storm. He activated his scanner, checking for any unusual activity. Nothing. The humans were all in their beds, heat signatures normal, no weapons detected. But still that feeling persisted. The feeling of being watched, studied, evaluated. Back on the unconquered claw, Zaxthul received a priority message from the Hegemony Council. Half of it was corrupted, but he could make out enough to understand they were concerned about the missing supply ships. They wanted answers. Run a full diagnostic on all systems, he ordered. Check everything. There has to be an explanation. The diagnostic took 3 days. It found nothing wrong. Every system was functioning normally. But during those 3 days, 2 more supply ships vanished. A communications relay station went completely silent, and 16 Corvani soldiers on various occupied colonies reported the same thing. They felt like they were being watched. "Commander," Tekval approached carefully. "The troops are getting nervous. Some are saying the humans have invisible warriors, or that they're using some kind of mind control." "Nonsense," Zax Thule snapped, but even he was beginning to feel it. That constant sensation of eyes on the back of his neck. Double the patrols. Anyone who spreads these rumors gets punishment duty. On Earth, 10 light years away, Admiral Sarah Chen stood in a room that didn't officially exist. The walls were covered with displays showing every Corvani ship, every supply route, every communication, every soldier's movement pattern. "Phase 1 is working perfectly," reported Colonel Martinez. "The micro-drones have mapped their entire military infrastructure. We know their shift changes, their supply schedules, their communication protocols, even their bathroom breaks." Sarah nodded. "And the supply ships?" "Redirected to our processing stations. We're learning everything about their technology, their weapons, their weaknesses. Each ship's crew is in comfortable detention. They don't even know they've been captured. They think they're still in hyperspace. The Morpheus protocol? Fully integrated into their communication systems. We're not blocking their messages, just introducing small errors, enough to create confusion and mistrust, not enough to make them realize it's an attack." Sarah studied the psychological profiles of the Corvani commanders. They're predators. They understand direct confrontation, overwhelming force, visible enemies. They don't understand this. "Should we proceed to Phase 2? Colonel Martinez asked. "Not yet. Let them stew a little longer. Let the paranoia build. When soldiers start shooting at shadows, when commanders stop trusting their own systems, when the Hegemony Council begins to question Zax Thule's competence, then we move to Phase 2. She looked at the display showing the 6 destroyed colonies. The colonists were safe in underground bunkers the Corvani never detected, but the destruction above ground was real. Those had been their homes, their life's work. "They wanted to teach us about power," Sarah said quietly. "Instead, they're about to learn what happens when humans decide to wage war. Not the quick, brutal war they understand. The slow, methodical, inescapable kind that humans perfected over thousands of years." Back on K3, Sergeant Vaxel jolted awake. Something was wrong. He grabbed his scanner. All the humans were in their barracks. Nothing was moving outside, but on his desk, placed carefully on top of his daily reports, was a single piece of paper. Written in perfect Corvani script were 4 words. "You were warned once." Vaxel ran to the human barracks, weapon drawn. He burst through the door to find all the humans asleep in their beds. The old man who watched him was snoring softly, but Vaxel knew with absolute certainty that one of them had been in his quarters. Past all the guards, through locked doors, past security systems, they had stood over him while he slept, close enough to kill him, and left only a message. His scales turned white with fear. Commander Zaxthul read Vaxel's report with disgust. "A piece of paper? You're afraid of paper? You probably wrote it yourself in your sleep." But then the reports kept coming, from all 6 colonies. Corvani soldiers finding messages in impossible places. In locked safes. Inside sealed helmets. Written on bathroom mirrors that fogged up when hot water ran. Always the same message. "You were warned." "It's psychological warfare," Tekval said, but his voice shook. "The humans are trying to scare us. With paper?" Zaxthul laughed, but it sounded forced. "Let them play their games. We have their colonies. We have their resources. We're winning." That night, another supply ship vanished. The next day, an entire mining platform's database was mysteriously erased. The day after that, every Corvani soldier's personal communicator played a single message in perfect Corvani. "You should have listened." Zaxthul stood alone in his quarters, staring out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the human fleet was hiding, planning, watching. He could feel them like predators in tall grass, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. 2 months had passed since the Corvani seized the human colonies. What started as small problems had become a nightmare that touched every corner of their occupation force. Sub-Commander Tekval stood before a tactical display that made no sense. Red markers showed attacks on Corvani installations across 6 star systems. The strange part was that half these attacks happened at exactly the same time, light years apart. "It's impossible," he muttered. "No fleet can be in 12 places at once." Commander Zaxthul paced behind him, his forearms clasped and unclasped in agitation. He hadn't slept properly in weeks. None of them had. "Show me the footage from the attack on Station 7. The security video played on the main screen. A Corvani supply depot guarded by 30 soldiers. Everything normal. Then, in the span of 3 seconds, every light went out. Every guard collapsed unconscious, and shapes moved through the darkness too fast for the cameras to properly capture. When the lights returned 17 seconds later, the entire depot was empty. Weapons, supplies, even the furniture, gone. The guards woke up hours later with no memory of what happened. "Ghosts," one of the bridge officers whispered. "The humans have ghosts." "There are no such things as ghosts," Zaxthul roared. "They're using some kind of technology we don't understand." "What technology?" Thekval asked. "Our scientists have analyzed everything. There's no energy signatures, no transporter traces, no evidence of any known weapons. It's like they just stop existing for a few seconds." The door to the bridge opened. Captain Yeltor of Intelligence entered, his scales pale with exhaustion. "Commander, we have a bigger problem." "Bigger than invisible enemies?" "The Morpheus virus, sir. We finally identified it. The humans have been inside our computer systems for weeks. Not hacking, not destroying, just learning. They know everything. Every code, every password, every secret communication. They've been reading our messages before we send them." The bridge fell silent. Every officer looked at their consoles with new fear. If the humans were in their computers, what else did they know? "Purge everything," Zaxthul ordered. "Complete system reset on all ships and stations." "We tried that on the Eternal Warrior," Yeltor said quietly. "The virus came back within 6 hours. It's not in our computers, Commander. It's in something smaller, something we can't detect." On the occupied colony K3, Sergeant Vaxel had stopped patrolling. He sat in the security office watching monitors, never leaving. The other guards thought he was losing his mind, but Vaxel knew better. The humans were doing something. He just had to catch them. He watched the old human miner on the screen. The man was sitting in the mess hall eating his protein ration slowly. Too slowly. Like he was waiting for something. Then Vaxel saw it. The old man's lips were moving. Just slightly. He was talking, but there was no one near him. Vaxel enhanced the audio, filtered out the background noise, confirming Package 7 ready for transport. "Guard rotation changes in 12 minutes. North entrance will have 18-second gap." Vaxel jumped up and ran to the mess hall. When he burst through the door, weapon drawn, the old man was just eating. Not talking. The other humans didn't even look up. "You?" Vaxel pointed at the old man. "You were talking." "Who were you talking to?" The old man swallowed his food calmly. "Myself, sir. Old habit. I talk to myself sometimes. You were giving information. Coordinates. Guard positions. Was I?" The old man seemed genuinely confused. "I'm sorry, sir. When you get to my age, the mind wanders. I was probably remembering my old mining days." Vaxel wanted to shoot him. His finger touched the trigger. But he had no proof. The recording would show an old man mumbling to himself. Nothing more. That night, Package 7, a shipment of advanced plasma weapons, disappeared from the colony's armory. The 18-second gap in the guard rotation was exactly when it happened. Admiral Chen stood in the command center of the Phantom Fleet, humanity's true military force. Ships that looked like asteroids, stations that registered as empty space, weapons that bent light around themselves to remain invisible. "Phase 2 is working perfectly," Colonel Martinez reported. "The Corvani are starting to turn on each other. 3 commanders have been executed for suspected treason. Their troops don't trust their own equipment. Some refuse to go on patrol alone. And our quantum soldiers? The phase technology is working beyond expectations. They can shift out of normal space for up to 30 seconds, moving through walls past sensors. Completely undetectable. The Corvani are calling them ghosts." Sarah looked at the tactical display. "Begin Phase 3. It's time to show them what persistence hunting means." Back on the unconquered claw, alarms started screaming. Zaxthul ran to the bridge to find chaos. "Human ships," Tsekval shouted. 40. No, 50. Wait, the numbers keep changing. On the screen, human vessels appeared and disappeared like mirages. 1 second there were 10, the next second 100, then back to 10. The Corvani targeting systems couldn't lock onto something that might not really be there. Fire everything, Zaxthul commanded. Plasma beams and missiles filled space. Most hit nothing. The human ships that were hit simply flickered and vanished. Holograms. But some were real, and they fired back with weapons the Corvani had never seen. Beams that passed through shields like they didn't exist. Missiles that stopped in space, waited, then continued when defenses were lowered. The battle lasted 4 hours. When it ended, the humans simply disappeared. No victory, no defeat. They just left. Corvani losses. 2 destroyers heavily damaged, 600 crew injured, 1 supply depot destroyed. Human losses. Unknown. Maybe none, maybe dozens. Impossible to tell what was real. They're playing with us, Tekval said, his voice hollow. They could have destroyed us, but they're just playing. The next day, it happened again. Different location, same result. Human ships appeared, caused chaos, inflicted minor damage, and vanished. Then again the day after, and the day after that. The Corvani fleet tried to predict where they would strike. Impossible. The humans hit mining outposts, military bases, supply convoys, communication relays. No pattern, no logic, just constant, unpredictable attacks that achieved nothing except keeping everyone terrified and exhausted. Captain Yeltor made a horrifying discovery on the 7th day of attacks. Commander, I've been analyzing the patterns. The humans aren't trying to destroy us. They're hurting us. Look, he brought up a star map. Every attack pushes us slightly. A damaged ship here makes us reroute there. A destroyed depot here makes us consolidate there. Over the past week, they've been slowly, carefully moving our entire fleet toward these coordinates. Zaxthul stared at the map. That's empty space. There's nothing there. That we know of, Yeltor said quietly. Set course for the hegemony core worlds. Zaxthul ordered. We're leaving. But when they tried to enter hyperspace, nothing happened. The drives were working perfectly, but somehow space itself wouldn't let them leave. Every attempt failed. They could move at sublight speeds, but faster than light travel simply didn't work. It's impossible, the chief engineer screamed. You can't just turn off hyperspace. But the humans had. Somehow, in ways the Corvani couldn't understand, humanity had locked them in normal space, trapped them in a cage made of physics itself. The attacks continued. Small, constant maddening. A ship would lose power for 3 minutes. A station's life support would fail just long enough to cause panic. Food supplies would spoil. Water would taste wrong. Sleep became impossible as alarms went off at random intervals. Sometimes real attacks, usually nothing. On K3, Sergeant Vaxel finally snapped. He grabbed the old human miner, dragged him to an interrogation room. Tell me how you're doing it, he screamed. Tell me or I'll kill you. The old man looked at him with sad eyes. You still don't understand, do you? You're not fighting our military. You're fighting our entire species. Every human is a soldier when threatened. Every mind is a weapon. Every action is calculated. You're miners. Civilians. We're humans, the old man said simply. We've been fighting wars since before we had language. We've turned warfare into science, art, and instinct. Your species fights wars. Our species is war, refined over millions of years of evolution. Then why don't you just destroy us? Vaxel's voice broke. Why this torture? Because destroying you teaches nothing. Fear teaches. Exhaustion teaches. Desperation teaches. You need to understand, deep in your bones, that attacking humanity is the worst mistake any species can make, so that you never ever do it again. Vaxel raised his weapon. I could kill you right now. You could, the old man agreed. But tomorrow there would be another human. And another. And another. We don't stop. We don't tire. We don't forget. That's what persistence hunting means. We don't need to be stronger or faster. We just need to last longer than you. On the bridge of the unconquered claw, Zaxthul received a single message from the humans. Admiral Chen's face appeared on screen. Commander, you've been in our trap for 2 weeks now. Your supplies are running low. Your troops are exhausted. Your government is questioning your competence. You have 2 choices. Continue this war and watch your fleet slowly waste away, or surrender and keep what dignity remains. The Corvani never surrender, Zaxthul snarled. Then the Corvani will disappear, Sarah said simply. Ship by ship, soldier by soldier, until only stories remain. 4 months into the war, the Corvani hegemony made a desperate decision. If they couldn't leave the trap through hyperspace, they would fight their way out at sublight speeds. It would take months to reach safe territory, but anything was better than slowly dying in the human snare. Commander Zaxthul stood on the bridge of the unconquered Claw, watching his fleet form up for the journey. 40 heavy cruisers had been reduced to 31. The others hadn't been destroyed, just disabled in ways that would take years to repair. The humans were precise in their cruelty. "All ships report ready, Commander," Thekval announced. His once proud posture was slumped with exhaustion. None of them had slept properly in weeks. Every time they tried, alarms would sound. Sometimes real attacks, usually false ones. The humans had turned rest into a luxury they couldn't afford. "Begin acceleration to 0.7 light speed," Zaxthul ordered. "Maybe it's sublight they can't follow us." For 3 days it seemed to work. The phantom attack stopped. No alarms, no vanishing supplies. The crew began to hope. On the 4th day, Sensor Officer Krilltek reported contact. "Commander, detecting one human vessel. It's matching our speed exactly. Distance, 100,000 kilometers. Just one ship?"
"Yes, sir."
"It's not attacking. It's just there." Zaxthul studied the image. A small human cruiser, weapons powered down, keeping perfect pace with their fleet, like a predator following wounded prey, not attacking, just walking behind them, patient and inevitable. Ignore it, Zaxthul decided. It's psychological warfare. By day 6, there were 3 human ships. Day 8, 7 ships. They never came closer, never fell behind. When the Corvani fleet adjusted course, the humans adjusted too, maintaining exact distance. "Why don't they attack?" a young officer asked. Veteran Captain Yeltor answered grimly, "Because they don't need to. They're wearing us down just by being there. Every crew member is watching those ships, wondering when they'll strike. Fear is more exhausting than battle." On day 12, Sub-Commander Thekval made a suggestion. "What if we turn and attack them? End this stalking game? With what energy?" Chief Engineer Muldoon responded, "We're at 30% fuel reserves. The recycling systems are failing because of that virus. Food synthesizers produce meals that taste like ash. The crew is at breaking point." "Then we keep running," Zaxthul decided. But running was what the humans wanted. On day 15, the Corvani fleet received a transmission on all channels. It wasn't a military frequency or an official communication. It was audio from Earth's public broadcasting. A human voice, calm and conversational. "Today marks 4 months since the Corvani hegemony attacked human colonies. In response, our forces continue Operation Persistence. Military analysts predict the Corvani fleet will exhaust their supplies within 6 weeks. Betting pools on the exact surrender date are now open in New Tokyo. In other news, the weather in Berlin, turn it off." Zaxthul roared, but they couldn't. The signal bypassed their systems entirely, broadcasting directly through the ship's metal hull, using the entire vessel as an antenna. Every wall, every floor became a speaker. The human news continued, treating the destruction of the Corvani fleet like a minor story between weather and sports. The message was clear. To humans, this wasn't even a real war. It was pest control. On day 20, something worse happened. The human ships started taking turns. One group would follow for 8 hours, then fall back as fresh ships took over. Then those would switch with another group. "They're showing us they have unlimited reserves," Captain Yeltor realized. "They can do this forever." "We can't. The Corvani tried everything. Sudden course changes, splitting the fleet, sending out decoys. Nothing worked." The humans adapted instantly, like they knew what the Corvani would do before they did it, because they did know. The micro-drones attached to every Corvani ship reported everything. Every conversation, every plan, every desperate idea was transmitted to the human command before it was even implemented. On day 25, the first Corvani ship broke. The Proud Warrior, a destroyer with 300 crew, simply stopped. Its captain announced he would go no further. He would rather surrender than continue this slow torture. Zaxthul had to make an example. Destroy the Proud Warrior. Show the fleet what happens to cowards. But when they targeted the defector, their weapons wouldn't fire. Systems showed green, but nothing happened. The humans had somehow disabled their ability to attack their own ships. How? Thekval asked desperately. How are they doing this? The answer came from an unexpected source. The old human miner from K3 appeared on their main screen. They had no idea how. He was supposedly still in custody on the colony, But there he was, sitting in what looked like a comfortable room, drinking tea. "Hello, Commander Zaxthul," the old man said pleasantly. "I thought it was time we talked directly. You're a prisoner on K3. "No, I'm an intelligence officer who was pretending to be a miner. We've been preparing for this possibility for 50 years, Commander. Every human colony has sleeper agents. Every trade route has hidden supply caches. Every piece of technology we've sold to other species has backdoors only we can access. Impossible. The galaxy would never allow—" "The galaxy doesn't know," the old man interrupted. "Because we're not conquerors. We don't want to rule anyone. We just want to be left alone. But we knew someday someone like you would come, someone who would mistake kindness for weakness. So we prepared." He took a sip of tea. "Do you know what persistence hunting is, Commander? Our ancestors on Earth would chase animals for hours, days sometimes. Not fast, just steady. The prey would sprint, rest, sprint again. But humans just kept walking. Eventually, the animal would collapse from exhaustion. Then our ancestors would walk up and kill it with their bare hands. We're not animals. No, you're easier. Animals don't know what's happening. You do. You know we're behind you. You know we'll never stop. You know that every day you run, you get weaker while we stay the same. That knowledge is killing you faster than any weapon." The transmission ended. In its place, every screen showed the same thing. A counter. Time since the war began. 4 months, 25 days, 13 hours, 42 minutes. And counting. On day 30, the second ship surrendered. Then a third. Zaxthul threatened, pleaded, raged. Nothing stopped the slow collapse of morale. The human fleet following them grew larger. 50 ships. 100. Some were warships, but others were clearly civilian vessels. Cargo haulers. Mining ships. Private yachts. The message was clear. Humanity wasn't even using their military. Civilians were enough to destroy the mighty Corvani hegemony. Chief Medical Officer Terak reported to Zaxthul privately. "Commander, the crew is dying. Not from wounds or weapons, but from stress. Hearts failing. Minds breaking. We have 17 cases of complete catatonia. Soldiers who just stopped. They stare at nothing, don't respond, don't eat. It's like their minds chose to leave rather than continue this. Tell them to be strong." "We're warriors." "Warriors need an enemy they can fight," Terak said. "You can't fight shadows. You can't fight patience itself." On day 35, they received another transmission. This time it was Admiral Chen. "Commander Zaxthul, your fleet is now 300 light-years from the nearest Corvani base. At your current speed and fuel consumption, you'll run out of power in 8 days. Your food will last 6. Your water recyclers have been failing at an increasing rate. You have 2 choices. Surrender now while your crew can still be saved, or watch them die slowly in the dark between stars." "What are your terms?" Zaxthul asked. The fact that he was even asking showed how far he had fallen. "Unconditional surrender. Your ships will be escorted to a neutral station. Your crew will be treated according to galactic law. You'll be returned to Corvani space eventually, but first you'll stand trial for the unprovoked attack on human colonies. And if we refuse?" Sarah's expression didn't change. "Then we continue following you. Day after day, week after week, until your last ship goes dark and silent. Until archaeologists find your fleet decades from now and wonder how the mighty Corvani disappeared." "Your choice, Commander." Zaxthul looked around his bridge. His officers were hollow-eyed shadows of their former selves. Some were swaying on their feet, micro-sleeping while standing. Others stared at nothing, minds retreating from a reality they couldn't process. They had been the predators. Now they were prey. But prey could at least run or hide or fight. The Corvani could do none of these things. They could only slowly fail while the humans watched. "I need to consult with my officers," Zaxthul said. "Take your time," Sarah replied. "We're not going anywhere. That was the worst part. The humans had all the time in the universe. The Corvani had 8 days. On day 37, 3 more ships surrendered independently. Their captains didn't wait for Zaxthul's order. They simply broadcast surrender on all channels and powered down their engines. The human response was immediate and efficient. Each surrendering ship was approached by a human vessel. Crew transferred, medical aid provided. The surrendered Corvani were given food, water, and most importantly, sleep. Real sleep, without fear of alarms or attacks. One of the transferred officers managed to send a message to the remaining fleet. "They're treating us well. It's over. Save yourselves." By day 39, half the fleet had surrendered. 6 months after the war began, Commander Zaxthul stood alone on the bridge of the unconquered Claw. His once mighty flagship drifted powerless in space, emergency lighting casting sick yellow shadows across empty stations. He was the last. Every other officer and crew member had surrendered, transferred to human ships where they were given food, medical care, and sleep. He had refused to leave. The commander goes down with his ship, he had said. But now, in the silence, he wondered if he was being noble or just stupid. A soft chime indicated an incoming transmission. The main screen flickered to life, showing Admiral Chen. She looked exactly as she had 6 months ago, calm and professional. The war that had destroyed the Corvani fleet hadn't even tired her. "Commander Zaxthul," she said, "life support on your ship will fail in 3 hours. This is my final offer. Surrender now or become a footnote in history." Zaxthul laughed bitterly. "Some choice. Die with honor or live with shame." "There's no honor in a pointless death," Sarah replied, "and the shame isn't in losing. It's in starting a war you were warned not to start." Through the bridge windows, Zaxthul could see them. Human ships. Thousands of them. They had appeared over the last hour, dropping out of hyperspace in perfect formation. Not just military vessels, but civilian ships too. Cargo haulers, science vessels, mining ships, private yachts. It looked like half of humanity had come to witness this moment. "Why so many?" he asked. "They're not here for you," Sarah explained. "They're here for us. For humanity. This is a moment of definition. We want every human to see it, to understand it. We want them to know that we gave every opportunity for peace, that we showed patience beyond reason, and that when forced to fight we did so with precision, not cruelty." "Not cruelty?" Zaxthul's 4 eyes narrowed. "You hunted us like animals. You broke our minds before you broke our ships." "We stopped you with minimal loss of life," Sarah corrected. "Your entire fleet, 30,000 soldiers and only 43 dead. All from accidents or medical conditions we couldn't prevent. Compare that to the 200 human colonists you killed in your first attack." The numbers stung. In their greatest military defeat, the Corvani had lost fewer people than the humans had lost in the opening strike. "You could have destroyed us at any time," Zaxthul said. "It wasn't a question." "Yes. Then why didn't you?" Sarah leaned forward slightly. "Because that would have made us like you. Conquerors who solve problems with violence. We needed to show the galaxy that humans are different. We don't destroy. We neutralize. We don't conquer. We defend, we don't rule. We protect." A new image appeared on the screen. The Corvani homeworld, surrounded by the largest human fleet ever assembled. Zaxthul's scales turned white. His planet, his people, completely at humanity's mercy. "No," he whispered. "Watch," Sarah commanded. The human fleet around the homeworld began to move, but they weren't attacking. They were forming a protective sphere around the planet. A shield of ships between the Corvani and the rest of the galaxy. "I don't understand," Zaxthul said. "Your government is in chaos," Sarah explained. 3 factions are fighting for control. 2 neighboring species are mobilizing to take advantage of your weakness. They plan to invade your colonies, maybe even your homeworld. The Corvani hegemony is about to fall. And you're protecting us? We're offering to protect you. The terms are simple. The Corvani hegemony is dissolved. Your military is reduced to a defensive force only. You keep your homeworld and 2 colony systems. You pay reparations to the families of the killed colonists. And you join the Human Alliance as a junior member. Junior member? We would be servants. You would be partners, Sarah corrected. Junior partners for 50 years, then full members with equal voting rights. Your technology combined with our innovation. Your strength with our strategy. Together we would be stronger than apart. And if we refuse, then we leave. The fleet around your homeworld withdraws. We won't attack you, but we won't protect you either. Based on our intelligence, your civilization will cease to exist within 1 year. The Mokari will take your eastern colonies. The Zelanti will take the western ones. Your homeworld will be fought over until nothing remains but ruins. Zaxthul stared at the display showing his surrounded homeworld. You planned this, all of it. You knew our neighbors would attack if we were weakened. We knew a lot of things, Sarah admitted. We knew you would attack us eventually. We knew your pride would make you ignore warnings. We knew your military doctrine couldn't adapt to unconventional warfare. And we knew your empire was unstable, held together only by military might. Take that away and it collapses. So this was never about defeating us. It was about absorbing us. It was about giving you a choice. You could have chosen peace at the beginning. You could have surrendered at any point during the war. Now at the end, you can choose survival or extinction. The choice has always been yours. Through the bridge windows, Zaxthul saw a small shuttle approaching. Human markings, but flying slowly, peacefully. It docked with the unconquered claw with a gentle thump. That shuttle has food, water, and medical supplies, Sarah said. Also a diplomatic team ready to discuss terms. You have 1 hour to decide. Surrender and join us, or refuse and face the consequences alone. The transmission ended. Zaxthul stood in the dying ship, surrounded by the ghosts of his pride. 6 months ago, he had commanded the most feared fleet in the sector. Now he was alone, defeated, and being offered mercy by the species he had tried to destroy. The shuttle's airlock hissed open. 3 humans entered the bridge, walking slowly, hands visible and empty. One of them was the old man from the mining colony, the one who had watched everything with those patient eyes. "Hello, Commander," the old man said. "My name is Colonel William Chen. I'm Admiral Chen's father." "Her father? You were at the colony from the beginning?" "I volunteered for the assignment 15 years ago, when we first detected Corvani scout ships near our borders. We knew this day might come. Every human knows that someday someone will test us. So we prepare. We watch, we wait. And when it happens, we're ready." William Chen pulled out a small device projecting a holographic document in Corvani script. "These are the terms. They're generous. More than generous. They're an invitation to join something greater than conquest." Zaxthul read through them. "Military reduction but not elimination. Economic support during the transition. Protection from external threats. Full citizenship rights for all Corvani. Their culture preserved. Their language respected." It was less a surrender and more a merger. "Why?" he asked. "Why offer this to an enemy?" "Because you're not our enemy anymore," William said. "The moment you lost, you stopped being a threat and became an opportunity. The Corvani are brilliant engineers. Your shield technology is the best in the galaxy. Your soldiers are brave and loyal. Why waste that? Why not make you allies instead? Other species will see this as weakness. Will they?" William smiled. "We turned the mighty Corvani hegemony into allies without destroying a single city, without bombing a single world. We showed that humans can defeat any military, break any empire without becoming monsters ourselves. That's not weakness, that's evolution." The younger human, a woman with kind eyes, stepped forward. "Commander, I'm Dr. Lisa Park. I can see you're exhausted. You haven't eaten in days. Your scales are showing signs of severe stress. Whatever you decide, please let us help you. You fought enough." For the first time in 6 months, Zaxthul felt something other than fear or anger. He felt relief. The war was over. The running was over. The choice was simple: die with the old hegemony or live with the new alliance. He pressed his thumb to the treaty, the Corvani sign of agreement. "The Corvani surrender," he said, his voice barely a whisper. "We accept your terms." Within seconds, lights came back on throughout the ship. Systems hummed back to life. The human fleet around them began broadcasting welcome messages in perfect Corvani. Food materialized in the ship's synthesizers. The medical bay's equipment started working again. They had been in control the entire time. Every moment of suffering could have been prevented. The humans had simply been waiting for the Corvani to choose. 5 years later, Zaxthul stood in the same trade station where it had all begun. He wore the uniform of the Allied Defense Force, humans and Corvani and a dozen other species united in common purpose. Beside him stood Admiral Sarah Chen, reviewing reports from the frontier. "The Zelanti are massing ships near our border," he reported. "They think the alliance is weak," Sarah smiled. "Send them the historical files from our war. All of them. Let them see what happened to the Corvani hegemony. You think that will stop them? It stopped the Mokari, the Pentari, the Quellans. They all watched what happened to you. They saw that fighting humans means fighting an enemy that doesn't need to sleep, doesn't need to eat, doesn't need to rest. An enemy that gets stronger when cornered and shows mercy when victorious." Ambassador Kelmore floated into the room, his translucent form shimmering with amusement. "The Zelanti have withdrawn their fleet. They send their apologies and request a trade agreement." Zaxthul laughed, a real laugh for the first time in years. "You were right, Ambassador. You warned me and I didn't listen. But you learned," Kelmore replied. "That's what makes humanity truly dangerous." not their weapons or their tactics.